Hi, everybody. Welcome to the channel. I'm very lucky today. I get to talk to the one and only Adam Bornn from Parallel Wealth. Super excited to have him on the channel. Get some of his time. He's a very busy man. We just did a video on his channel, so I was actually luckier to do that than to have you on my channel because you've probably tripled me since we first spoke less than a year ago. Love to see the success. Adam and I talk as much as we can about this business and how to build our own businesses with, the way it's going and what's working and what's not. And we both have different, two sort of models that we work with. And one is the fee for service model, which we talked about on Adam's channel. And on my channel, we're going to talk about the fee-based planning model. We're going to talk about what it is, the benefits, kind of how pricing works, typical clients that we'll see, and is this right for you? And please check out, if you don't know who Adam is, please check out our video about fee for service planning on his channel. Welcome, Adam. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Go through the different planning. I mean, yeah, like we just wrapped up the fee for service on our channel, and it's always good to talk about this stuff, right? I love digging into this and where the industry is going. And I think the industry is finally moving in the direction where it needs to be for the consumer. And I think it's been, I don't think it's ever been there. And I think it's finally trending there. And, I think you and I have been able to build a bit of a business off of that because we've kind of met that need. We've seen where there's opportunity for the client to maybe save fees, get better service, get better structure, all that kind of stuff. And so I think fee-based financial planning, which, we'll talk about today, is a big part of that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's ever, I don't think it should ever go anywhere, but I would like to see it shift. And I mean, that's where it's so hard for the big corporations to shift away from the profits that they make. Like, we're making record profits. Our shareholders really like this. Why would we ever reduce our fees? And the problem with the fee-based model is that it's not transparent. And, that's where sort of the underlying issues are, but it is trending in the right direction because consumers are becoming more educated. And that's our main job, right? Is to actually educate people about what's going on. I started K4 a long time ago under this sort of plan that I'm going to teach people, how to plan, but also what is wrong with this business. And the fee-based model is generally what's wrong with it. However, there is still a place in it. So we're going to talk about it today. What is it? Fee-based planning is basically you are going to come in, you're going to get a financial plan. You're going to then choose to hire either Adam or myself or somebody that works for our company to be your planner or advisor moving forward. And what you're going to do is move some assets into asset management company, somebody that actually handles the money, builds the portfolios. Companies do this for us and pay us a set fee ongoing based on the amount of assets that you have, basically. It is how I originally set up my business. It was the only thing that I did in the beginning. We've just sort of recently added fee for service, even though I did it from time to time when people asked for it over the years. So it's like, okay, I'll take some money now because I need to pay the crazy heating bills that we have today.
You're in Edmonton, that's why.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, we can't afford real estate in Vancouver.
Yeah, fair enough.
From that standpoint, it's basically just, but on the other hand, that's almost all bank advisors are, or, people at other financial planning institutions are, but they're more tied to a specific product within their shelf, is where Adam and I get to choose, who do we think is going to be a right fit? What's the pricing look like? And then adding on our fee. So not a whole bunch of money is going to the corporation. All I did and all Adam did, I think, is we cut out the majority of the fee that goes to a giant corporation that doesn't actually do anything to earn it other than be so big that people want to deal with them.
Yeah. And I think the fee-based financial planning, I think where the market's going and where you and I do it differently than most is that typically like fee-based planning is more of an embedded commission or commission-based solution, right? So, you pay a fee based on assets under management to a big bank or financial institution or your financial advisor, whatever it is, but it's kind of embedded. So if you buy this product, it pays the advisor, a fee of 1%, and it's an embedded commission. And some people call that fee-based planning because it's based on a fee. Where Kent and I are a little bit different is that, we'll find the best investment solution for you, and the investment firm, whoever that is, will charge a fee. And being an independent advisors like Kent and myself, we can hire any investment firm that we want. We have, we partner with ones that we think will do a great job for our clients. But the investment companies charge a fee, and then we charge a fee. It's paid out of your assets under management, and there's efficiencies to that, but it's a separate fee. And so we've created transparency. And I always go to my clients and say, look, like it's fully transparent. You know what you pay us, you know what you pay the investment company, but you're paying a planning fee and you're paying an investing fee. And I think that's right. Typically that's kind of merged into this convoluted fee that's hidden in the background and shoved away. Right. I think that's important to talk about is like the fee-based financial plan that Kent and I do is a separation of fees.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is very easy for you and I to understand. But the one of the main issues between that and is that we are still kind of considered to find the investment advisor, even though we don't actually choose the investments. We hire outside professionals and firms to do this, but still it comes onto us as like we were the ones that are choosing how your investments are performing, when we both know it's just kind of the market that dictates everything. And if we knew exactly what the perfect solution was going to be, I promise you that Adam and I would tell you what it is.
Yeah, we just ordered the crystal ball on Amazon. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's basically what it is. And the only thing that we've changed with what it is that, from us, we've split the two. So you understand what you're paying for, and we're showing it to you. And what's happened now is they have split it at the big institutions, but they're only showing you half of the picture. Yeah. And then that is the big problem, is they're saying, this is your fee, which is your advisor fee, but they're not showing you what the investment fee is, or vice versa. And then so you think your fees are lower than they actually are, or you just don't see the fees whatsoever at all. And that happens a lot, especially with smaller clients, because they're just not going to see what's going on. You don't see it get peeled out every day. And out of sight, out of mind, it's very easy to just sort of, say, okay, well, they're here and they're paying 2.5%, and they're going to keep doing that for, the rest of their lives. And we're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of this person without actually helping them whatsoever. Just buying their RSPs every year. I've walked in, put 10 grand in your RSPs, and we'll see you next year, a different person.
Exactly.
So I think it's good for a lot of people. We talked about fee for service, and so what do you think the benefits of this model are compared to fee for service?
The fee-based planning, what we're talking about now versus the fee for service, the benefit with this is it's for people that need kind of more ongoing support, right? Again, the fee for service is more of, we'll create a plan, but it's really on you to implement the plan. If you say, look, Adam, like, I don't want to implement, I need a plan. I don't want to implement it. I need kind of the ongoing touch points. Then this type of service where it's an ongoing relationship and readjusting the plan and working with you ongoing, which most people need at the end of the day. And
Right.
most people have it, but again, they have it kind of on the old expensive model and mutual funds at the bank. And there's better, more cost effective and better, take the cost away. If you said, look, Adam, if I'm getting a good return, I don't care what I'm paying. And a lot of people say that.
Right.
But are you getting planning? Are you getting the tax and estate structure of planning? I think that's where you want the separation is, look, I'm paying what I'm paying over here for investing, but I'm paying a separate planning fee. And that, the fee-based planning, that separate planning fee gives your plan up front and it gives you a plan ongoing. And I think there's a ton of value there.
I agree. And one of the things that I like to think in my head anyways, I don't talk about this all that often, but for some people that know me and this channel, my dad was a physician and I loved the fact that he was a physician. And when I was a kid and after he passed away, I would always run into old patients of his that were like, I loved your dad. He helped us. He was with us for like 20 years. He delivered all of my babies, all of these things. And what I love about, the fee-based financial planning is that I get to build this relationship with clients over a number of years. And it's so fun to watch sort of the progression or whatever's happening and help with those things. And it becomes sort of like that physician-patient relationship where once we're set, the drawback for the customer is that you're still paying potentially quite a bit of money in some years where we're not doing that much, especially I think in your sort of 40s and early 50s where the plan is set. You're just building your assets. You have good jobs. You've got your debt's being paid down, whatever. It's pretty easy. But when those big things arise, that's when you want to talk to us. And so it's sort of like having us on retainer for later. And then when you do get to retirement, we're going to really make it, sort of work for you. And so I like,
it's something to lean on, like you said, right? Like, I think a lot of times, even in, March 2020, you may have not talked to Kent for 4 years and it's just kind of touch points. Are you doing good? Yeah, we're doing good. And you may feel, hey, Kent hasn't done a bunch of a plan since the original plan. And then March 2020 hits and you panic and you think, you know what, we need to sell out of the markets. And, you phone Kent and Kent, walks you through it in your plan and why selling wouldn't make sense at this point and structure. There's that call with Kent just saved you, depending on your asset size, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we hear it again and again and again. And, sometimes like there's huge value in the background to have someone when that emergency comes in your life to lean on that you trust, they know your plan, all of that. So even though there are periods definitely where there's less planning need, it's having that person to lean on, and it can be a huge financial benefit to have that.
Right. And I've never talked about this on the channel because I think it's self-serving, but there are independent studies that get done that do show the value add of an advisor, even though there's fees, because this business comes down to fees a lot of the times. A lot of the stuff that you're going to hear from DIY investors is like advisors are garbage and you should never use an advisor because you can invest yourself. And that is absolutely true, but there is an underlying sort of value add that sometimes we can't put a dollar figure on. But like study after study shows that this same exact person using an advisor is going to be better off just because of those touch points. And like when I need that person to lean on. So I'm always like, if anything happens, contact me. Yeah. I'll get back to you right away. We'll talk about it and we'll see what, your options are. My only job is to talk somebody through what are the options you have here? What are the pros and cons? Now, let's make a decision and we'll work forward. And the same thing with sort of the market and what's going on in the world today is absolutely crazy. And I saw you posted a video the other day, which I loved, which is, stick to the plan. And as long as we know that the plan is working, almost no matter what, we know that we're going to get through it regardless of what the market does. So I think it's a big part of it, which you don't get on the fee for service side. Is like,
yeah, and talking about that research. So it's funny because a lot of that research, and a lot of you viewers are probably watching this say, yeah, that research is done by the banks and financial institutions. Of course, they're going to do the research that says paying an advisor makes sense. Vanguard did one. So Vanguard is an ETF provider. They don't provide financial planning. They're an ETF provider. They're a product provider, essentially. They did research about, I think it's about 2, maybe 3 years ago now, that we send out to prospects and people looking to work with us quite often, and it breaks down the value of an advisor. And so just Google Vanguard Value of Advisor survey, and you'll find it on YouTube or on Google. But it comes, I think it's 3.2 or 3.6% of added value on an annual basis that an advisor brings, and that's independent study by a product provider, an ETF, low-cost product provider. So interesting outbreak. So again, it's always been like the banks and stuff that have done these research, which you always take with a grain of salt.
Right.
But when Vanguard did one, I thought, hey, this is eye-opening and also more believable from the consumer standpoint.
Right. And well, that was always my problem, is like, I'm going to share this because it's, because I've seen them when I worked at IG, and it was like, look how much value we provide. And I'm like, well, you can't. Does everybody?
That's like Kent Tilley doing a survey on, the most handsome men in the world are named Kent, right? It's like, okay, Kent, but I got to take that with a grain of salt here.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
so let's keep going. So what should people be paying typically on the fee-based planning model?
Well, that's always the number one question that you and I need to come to, right? Is like, what is it? Typically, a firm like yours or mine, or an office of a branch of any bank or financial institution, the office is getting about 1% out of the total, and then whatever is going to the advisor. And I think this should slide down as the assets are bigger, or maybe over the course of time, where somebody's built up this many assets. Well, guess what? You're going to pay less over time. So generally speaking, it is around 1% or less, depending on asset size, that people are paying. And then, the remainder is going to the asset management side, which, can range from 0.4, 0.3 or 0.4 plus the ETFs too, with BCV, which we've added as well, which I know you work with a lot, and you had him on your channel, which is going to charge a little bit more because they're actively managed funds, and they're really doing a lot of things instead of just buying ETF portfolios that kind of do it themselves. So,
and I do find a lot of places that buy ETFs is they're still charging like 0.5% plus your ETF costs. I find a typical active manager like BCV or others, they're kind of in that 0.6 to 1% is kind of the range. Right. I do find too always be aware of like what you pay. Some investment firms will charge you 0.6, but they charge you an annual fee for every account that you have open. So there can be other fees involved too. So just be aware of that. Yeah, BCV charges like our pricing model on the fee-based planning. We have a $500,000 minimum in our firm here, and let's say it goes to BCV. The fee is BCV charges 0.75. We charge 0.75, so it's 1.5% all in.
Right.
And then it kind of scales down. So once you hit a couple million, it drops, and beyond that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of do it however I see fit.
Yeah.
and then I'm like,
every client has different needs, right?
And then I'm like, well, Chad, for now you kind of have to charge set. So we start at, depending on asset value, we start at 1%. We don't generally have a minimum here, because I never actually, I was always like, I kind of have a minimum or sort of a requirement as to who I want to work with. So I'm taking on less clients myself. But as a firm, I never wanted to do it, just because I know there's a lot of people out there with less that still need help. And I just wanted to be a firm that was always doing that. Not that I have anything against that. That's amazing. And some days I'm like, no, I think about it and setting it, but then I'm like, no, because I always said, like, we're going to help. It might not be me, but we're going to do it. As long
and I
as
know, like we've sent you guys some clients. I have an advisor here in or a few advisors in BC here that we refer clients. So if someone comes in with less, that I know they need planning, better advice, and they're not getting what they need. We have, we'll send some to you. We have some locally here that I've worked with in the past that I know do a great planning job and that can help out on the investment side and kind of have the same model, just at a minimum. Because we never want to tell a client like, sorry, we can't help you. We want to have a solution for you. So.
Totally. And I mean, that's exactly it. So what I'm just, I guess, trying to build that sort of in-house and say, okay, well, if we're going to take you on inside and you're just referring it out to somebody that you trust, it's basically the exact same thing. So yeah, that's kind of what you're looking for pricing. I find that once I get to a certain point, I'm like, there's a cap where I'm going to be like, okay, we don't need more than this. There can be, and something I've thought about a lot, and I figured I'd get your thoughts on this, is sort of a subscription-based model. Like, no matter how much money you have, you just pay a monthly fee, coming out of the assets. Because it's hard. Is it fair? Is this model fair? Some people need more help, and and I know that somebody with $500,000 could be way harder than somebody with $2 million.
Yeah. And also I typically find there's a lot more work, in the first 12 to 36 months as well. And again, you talked about earlier, depending on your age, like different age categories, like most clients that reach out to us are getting ready to retire or are in retirement and they need kind of some tax. So there's a lot more kind of hand holding and structure in that. So, but yeah, it could be, and I've seen this with some firms where they, it's a percentage of AUM, like it's a fee-based model kind of idea. And then after 24 months, they review it and go to a subscription model if the client wants to.
Yeah, that's actually quite a good idea. It's sort of something I've been toying with is like, okay, we've got you set or whatever, or a little bit of a fee for service up front so that we know, because as you know, and Adam had a more established business than I did when he had started his YouTube channel. Whereas I didn't have that. I had to grow back from square one when I started. I was like, what the hell? I need to take on anyone I want. I didn't really get my pricing model so much. I was like, I'm going to set this. We both worked with Simple. At the time, they only had one option. I had to choose. I actually chose a little bit lower than I should have because I forgot that it costs money to run a business.
Minor detail.
Right. I was like, well, so I was like, okay, how much does Kent want to earn? That's what I'm going to charge. Not thinking about my actual company is going to have some expenses outside of it. So, yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with that point, but there are always thoughts in my head about changing it or what works better for some people. As long as, we think it's a fair trade almost, then
I mean, there's a price you pay in the value, right? And I think as soon as a client's paying more than the value they're getting, they're going to look elsewhere or should look elsewhere. And I think there has to be that balance between the two of, is there value for the price? And is it going the other way, right? Is the client paying too low and the value is too high? I have that with clients all the time. And, I have the conversation of, we need to swing this pendulum a little bit.
Right.
And so it does go both ways, right? So
totally.
And I think, going back to the pricing stuff, I think there's lots of options for pricing out there. So I think as a consumer watching this video, shop around. I always tell people you should talk to a few people before you pull the trigger on who you're going to work with and learn about the pricing model. Make sure, what is my all-in cost? Are there hidden fees? What kind of products do you use? What kind of services? What am I paying all in? What, going forward, ask those hard questions. And, when people ask me, I love it, right? Like and we put it on our website. So it's no surprise. Totally. We're very transparent that way of, you just go to our website, it's all there. You'll know exactly what you pay. But we're definitely in an industry where embedded commissions and hidden fees and all this is the norm. And I guess that's what Kent and I are trying to kind of get out here is we're trying to change that norm. Kent and I aren't the only ones doing it. There's other advisors out there doing it. But it's definitely we're in the minority still, and hopefully within a few years we'll be in the majority.
Right. Yeah. But if we're not, that's better for you and I. Just not the
in a way, but
right,
man, things need to change for sure.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's too hard for the big companies to move. Like I've talked, they're too slow.
But they have all the money and power, right? So,
right.
But tell me a bit about your typical client for the fee-based planning.
Well, mine was, I used to only do it because I wanted sort of that relationship. And when it was, just me and, how many clients am I going to take on? And as the channel grew, I always thought it was going to be, Kent, you're going to get 1,000 35-year-olds a year with 40 grand, and they're going to contact you and be like, wicked, you're better than my bank. None of those people contact us. As you know, it's all people that are entering retirement, close to retirement, want that second set of eyes, whatever it is. And so you and I have become like retirement transitioning experts. More so than we would have been earlier in our career, where we're getting more clients that are typically our age. And so that's typically my client. And I think that's the best stage to do this type of thing, because those 3-4 years transitioning into retirement, as you've talked about a lot on your channel, is a mentally challenging transition. And it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of, mental hurdles to get over, where you do start to feel comfortable that, I've entered this. We've worked through everything. We now know when we're going to take CPP and OAS. We now know how we're going to pull the money out in retirement, because we've built that strategy and now understand, what our expenses are going to look like, what our life is actually going to look like in retirement. Because we all have this dream in our head of like, I'm going to travel every single day and all of this stuff. But, it's not quite like that. So those years, I think it's very important to have somebody working with you all the time. And that's kind of why I like the physician thing, is because it's like, that is the time where you need your doctor more. It's because, there's health issues arise. And I'm sure you see a lot of people that are newly widowed, and there's a lot of stress going on, or, there's a new illness or something like that, or recent job loss that they didn't expect. And those are the things where it's like, okay, you need us now, contact us now. We're going to help you get through this. And we're basically just peace of mind people in my mind, is like, when I love telling people, like, I know this is stressful, but if we do this, then you're going to be okay. And totally. It's my favorite part of the job.
Yeah. And we get a lot of people like the DIYers, which again, a lot of you watching these videos are DIYers. And, I put a plan together and we're presenting it, and I'm like, hey, you need to pull out $30,000 out of your RSP next year. And they're like, okay, but what do I sell? And I'm like, that, like, on a fee for service model, that's on you. On the fee-based model, that's on us or the investment manager to figure out how that's structured. So, for those of you watching this video that say, I need a plan and I need like the actionable delivery of the plan as well, then the fee-based financial plan is for you. If it's, I'm comfortable, kind of pulling the trigger on my own end, I just need a plan, then it's the fee-for-service financial plan. So those are the two. But I do find a lot of DIYers, it's like, it's easy to buy companies, right? Like, it's easy to buy companies that you like and buy their stock and grow it and whatever, and you do it for 40 years. But you kind of hit this tipping point where it's like, Adam or Kent are telling me I have to sell like a substantial amount sometimes of these stocks. Like, what am I going to sell? When? What's the timing of it? All of that. Like, again, that's not what you and I do either. Like, we leave that up to the investment counsel firms that we partner with. But it is a big decision, and it's the decision that a lot of you have a very, very tough time making. And so that's where the kind of the ongoing service and support and that rolling out your plan makes a lot of sense.
Right. And I mean, I'm sure you have this too, a combination of people that are like, I've got a DIY, side, and then you have some assets managed through sort of working with us, as long as I know, and we're not in complete disagreement with it. And then whatever your play side is, as long as it's not with outside of my norm of saying, okay, I'm very uncomfortable with that. Like, well, my first biggest client that I got very early on with K4, um, she had worked with one of the big five banks for her entire career, and she gets it and manages her own assets and does a very good job of it. And her husband has his stuff with me or us, and who we worked with originally. That was Simple, like I said, and they use that, and that works perfectly for me. I mean, I'm well compensated for what's going on, and she wanted the plan and knew that she could invest the money, but wanted the long-term plan to help them transition into retirement. And that's been 6 years, and now they're very set. It's become a pretty simple conversation every year, and that's kind of what happens. Where now I don't know, right now it's like, but if something happens, I'm there 100%, or things change, and
absolutely.
So I mean, I think that's close to it. I mean, I was also thinking, and somebody that, I don't know your feelings on this, but I think people that own businesses or are self-employed professionals should have a fee-based planner.
Yeah,
because there's so many things going on all the time.
And I saw you talk about that on one of your videos, and I agree. Like, if whether you're a business owner, just have a lot going on in your world, a lot of balls in the air. It definitely kind of having someone on an ongoing basis makes a ton more sense, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Because that allows us to build a relationship with the accountant over the years, and actually just have those conversations, on your behalf. But once we become sort of the part of that unit, then and like I said, we see a lot more retirees than we do. Like, the traditional people are always searching for the young doctors or whatever, the people with huge incomes. But guess what? Boomers have money.
They do, and they need help, for sure.
And they're paying a lot. So our job is to just save you fees, save you taxes, help you set up your estate plan, talk to somebody that you trust. And so thank you so much for coming on, Adam. If you don't know his channel, then I'm not sure which rock you're hiding under, because I'm sure that you show up every time you search for me. But thanks again. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat with you again soon. Hopefully we can do this again soon.
Definitely. Thanks so much, Ken.
Beauty. Thanks.